Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's your boy DLloyd. So, Nick Foles, he is overrated. And I have some reasoning behind this. Now, Nick Foles is a guy who I believe has been overrated multiple times throughout his lengthy NFL career. He's now, 30 years old. He's a guy who is what we've seen from Nick Foles. And what just had me thinking about this, of course, Jacksonville Jaguars, they decided to go ahead and bring in Gardner Minshew after they benched Nick Foles. Looks like Nick Foles' time may be up in Jacksonville. He just got a big contract. We'll see if they decide to move him in the offseason, if they decide to release him in the offseason, or they can simply keep Nick Foles. But that is one expensive backup quarterback. So we'll see what they ultimately end up doing. But the NFL has this history of building up these backup quarterbacks or players that we've seen small sample sizes of and making them the next big thing, right? Hoping that they are the next greatest thing that ever existed. And then they end up falling flat. And then at the end of the day, they look and say, well, you overpaid this quarterback or you overpaid this player. We've seen this plenty of time with Brock Osweiler, now with Nick Foles, of course. And Nick Foles, it's not his fault. Nick Foles has been Nick Foles, right? So he started his career in Philadelphia, had an 1-5 record as a rookie, but it's fine. It's your first year. It's cool. Second year takes over full time for Michael Vick at that point. Goes off 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, an 8-2 record as a starter. This is Nick Foles, man. Pro Bowler, all of that good stuff. He comes back the next year and he's Nick Foles. 13 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, but he goes to St. Louis. And when he goes to St. Louis, at the time, this is now the guy, right? Like, Nick Foles is going to take this St. Louis team, and the Rams are going to end up contending because they have Nick Foles. Well, in this one season in St. Louis, Nick Foles was 4-7 as a starting quarterback, 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. What does that scream? That screams Nick Foles, right? An average, at best, NFL quarterback. Then he goes to Kansas City, 3 touchdowns, no picks, only played in 1 game, fine. Was about to retire, all that good stuff. Goes back to Philly. And then what happens? Carson Wentz goes down with the injury. But remember, that year, Carson Wentz was considered an MVP candidate, right? He was a guy that people were saying, hey, maybe he's the future MVP candidate. This team's looking good. Carson Wentz all day. But Nick Foles comes in and he finishes the season. They win the Super Bowl. But in the regular season, Nick Foles was still Nick Foles. 2-1 as a starter. 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But he was Nick Foles. He was nothing crazy special. But you're winning games. You keep him out there. You beat the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. That's great. Those are great things. Now, Nick Foles goes back to his regular position as a backup quarterback. Carson Wentz is coming back. Carson Wentz doesn't look 100% healthy. He gets hurt again. And then here comes Nick Foles once again. Now, this time he goes 4-1 as a starter. Still decent team around him, but, he's galvanizing the troops, right? He's getting everybody ready to play. And that's good. You want that out of your quarterback. It shouldn't be rare that it happens as a quarterback. Hopefully, most quarterbacks can do that. Everyone can't, so you do give Nick Foles props to that, right? People believe in him in that locker room. But during the regular season, in those 5 games where he went 4-1, there was 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. They lean on the running game more. They're not asking him to do too much, just asking him to do simple stuff. Now, Carson Wentz, they want him to do everything for Philly. Nick Foles is just, hey, man, try not to turn the ball over too much. We're going to run the football. We're going to do a couple easy passes. Every now and then we may take a shot. That's about it. That's about all they ask Nick Foles to do. But what does Nick Foles do? He gets them back into the playoffs. Cool. Now, he signs a big contract with Jacksonville. Now, when you look at Jacksonville coming into the season, they have a good defense. They regressed last year because Blake Bortles was awful. They have a running game with Leonard Fournette. If he can stay healthy, things can maybe work out. You have a decent receiving core. Not the greatest, but they're okay. So maybe you bring in Nick Foles, and this is going to, get them into the playoffs, right? We seen them in the playoffs 2 seasons ago. This is it. And what do we have? We have an 0-4 Nick Foles as a starter for the Jacksonville Jaguars. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. What is that? That is, once again, Nick Foles. He continues and continues and continues to show people what he is, which is an average NFL quarterback. But it's mind-blowing to me that I'm looking at and reading what people are talking about for the upcoming offseason and what quarterback team should target. And you hear Nick Foles' name again, like Nick Foles is going to come in and turn your franchise around. And to me, it just doesn't make sense because we know what Nick Foles is. He has done this at every stop throughout his NFL career. He's been an average NFL quarterback with one great season. I will give him the 2013 season. And other than that, he's galvanized the troops, but he hasn't played out of his mind since 2013. I mean, on a consistent basis. You have a game here or there, but, you know, Fitzpatrick does the same thing. You know what I mean? He has games every now and then where he looks great, but I don't know, man. I feel like Nick Foles is extremely, extremely overrated. And I just don't understand the talks of people saying they should trade for Nick Foles, or if he's a free agent, you should go get him. It's almost like Kirk Cousins to me. Like, he's okay, but I think he's overrated, man. But that's kind of my rants. Like I said, I just heard people talking up Nick Foles, and he should be the next guy to take over all these different teams. Carolina go after Nick. Like, no, it's Nick Foles, man. He's an average quarterback. But I would love to hear your guys' opinion, man. Do you think Nick Foles is overrated? Do you think he's an average quarterback? Or do you think he is good? Like, people talked about the Eagles should have Nick Foles over Carson Wentz. Doesn't make any sense to me. But let me know, please, your opinions in the comment section below. I'm definitely going to be reading them. I'm interested to see different perspectives. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, go ahead and leave this video a like. It helps me out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't already. It's your boy D Lloyd. I'm see y'all next time. Peace.